All right, so here we got another video. I kind of wanted to explain a couple more things about the differences between Taiwanese talk shows and Western talk shows because we're going to try to do this interview in more of a Western style. So I've showed you the Western style talk shows, and then I've showed you the Taiwanese style. Taiwanese is probably very similar to Japan, I would guess. Now, there was a couple more things that I was, I don't know if I brought it up. So I've heard about these signs that this would be electronic, just 电子版, right? And so it would be red or something like that. 就是会选一个颜色. There'd be a color. So applause is, yay, and then clap is, right? So that I guess that's part of trying to get the audience to know when to clap and when to be excited and things like that. And this is all important because as I showed before, Western talk shows, and a lot of Western shows, they're actually kind of like theater. And we're Taiwanese. You go to a studio. I've never heard of a live audience other than in Poen, which I'm going to put on later. Okay. Now, So basically, I've heard that maybe they don't always use this, but there's someone who's holding up a sign that says applause, and then maybe someone who's trying to get the whole crowd going. And then when you go into a Western talk show or something like that, at least in the United States, they actually teach you. If the show is going to start at 11, you come in there like 9:30, I've heard, and then they'll teach you, okay, when you can laugh, what you can do, and so there's actually kind of, as the audience, you're almost told how to act, right? And I think that's a really, really big part about Western media is that we like the audience involvement, and that's always been in the history. So I'm going to show you the whole video because I think it's really, really worth it. And then there's two other things I'm going to show you real quick that are similar.
From the hit TV series Parks and Recreation, 128-ounce option. Most people call it a gallon, but they call it the regular.
Now, let's see what that same clip would be like if we add the laugh track.
128-ounce option. Most people call it a gallon, but they call it the regular.
It seems so wrong, but for most of television history, it was so right.
This is
Over
Friends,
the last
right?
half century or so, almost every comedy on television had canned laughter. From I Love Lucy to The Big Bang Theory. For some, the laughter is viewed as an imposition. For others, a secondary character you almost forgot was there, until it wasn't anymore. In recent years, the laugh track has been used less and less as sitcoms in general have decreased in popularity. Let's break down where the mysterious laugh box came from and where it went.
When they say sitcom, they're saying situational comedy. It's like 故意的都是让一些尴尬的情况而好笑的情况，就是让观众笑。And so basically, sitcom, they'll talk about later on. In the past, there's these shows with that, like Friends and things like that. They're just supposed to make you laugh. Now, there is a plot, 有一个剧情的结构, right? But it was more about, you have 30 minutes, try to make everyone have a good time. Where shows like The Office, newer shows where there's none of that canned laughter or the laughter track, that it was, basically they care more about character development. So 现在如果没有那种就是罐头笑，那个效果都是他们比较重视角色的那个，应该是说人生的那个发展，就是要多懂他们的人生故事 right? So the focus is on the characters and on the plot when there's no laugh track. But if there's a laugh track, it's supposed to be just enjoy it, right? There's a plot that goes on as the season goes on, but it's not so obvious.
Before television existed, there was the ballet, the opera,
Right.
magic, and
Bio.
comedy shows.
Opera
When you went
剧
to
院
one of these events, you were experiencing the audience reactions in real time. If something was shocking, you could hear and feel the gasps echo around you. And similarly, with laughter.
Look at
But
her
then came
smoking.
the radio, the first ever broadcast medium. Those communal reactions disappeared as American families gathered in their living rooms to be entertained.
This is important because in the past, the first way that you could, if you couldn't go to a baseball game, you'd actually hear it on the radio. So radio came before television.
Radio producers wanted to develop a way to give people the live experience at home. The first ever laugh track began with Bing Crosby's radio show. Recording pioneer Jack Mullen recalls the creation to Channels of Communication, a trade journal, in 1981. The hillbilly comic Bob Burns was on the show one time and threw a few of his
Hillbilly's like two
extremely
balls.
racy and off-color folksy farm stories into the show.
Gracie,
We recorded it
是
live, and they all got
亲自的。
enormous laughs, but we couldn't use the jokes. So scriptwriter Bill Murray asked us to save the laughs. A couple of weeks later, he had a show that wasn't very funny, and he insisted that we put in the salvage laughs. Thus, the
Salvage
laugh
is to
track
be
was
saved.
born. Fast forward to the era of early television. Comedies were filmed with a single camera in front of a live audience. That meant that
See, right? Here's the audience and here's the show. That's why 你看那个 Friends， 好像你是在一个墙壁前 ，right？ 就是一个不存在的墙壁前 ，right？ It's like this idea of a fourth wall. So you don't see it from here and here. A lot of times you see it just from here.
each scene would be filmed multiple times from multiple angles,
Right,
instead
here
of
we
the
go.
multicams today, which have multiple cameras capturing one take. Those separate angles and takes would be cut together, and when that happened, the laughter was inconsistent.
Nothing
hold on.
replaces a human connection.
Come on, you shut up.
And nothing
Ah.
is going to get you farther along than to be able
Sorry.
to connect with people.
Thanks, Robin.
Audiences would
See?
laugh at the wrong time, too loudly, for too long, and were simply unreliable.
不可靠。
In the late 1940s, CBS sound engineer Charlie Douglas noticed
This is like
those
我们的
inconsistencies
老三台的
and
其中
couldn't
之一。
take it anymore. If a joke didn't get a desired laugh, he would insert one with the use of a laugh track. This technique became known as sweetening. Douglas went so
Right? So people aren't laughing, we'll add in a fake one. 就是加一个特效, right? Just add in a fake laugh. And you're going to see something else, you can even take it off.
far as to create a physical laugh box. According to Ron Simon, curator of television and radio at the Paley Center for Media, the device was about 3 feet tall, the shape of a filing cabinet, very heavy, and had slots for 32 reels which could hold 10 laughs each. It was officially named the Audience Response Duplicator, but it became known as the laugh box.
Duplicate is like 复制.
At its best, the laugh box could hold 320 laughs. Press them one at a time and you get a singular laugh. Press multiple keys at once and a symphony of laughter would play. Each key
Symphony.
represented a different age, sex, and style of laugh, with a foot pedal regulating the length.
Like a piano, right?
The laugh box was mysterious though. Since Douglas owned the patent and created all of them, nobody outside of him and his family members had ever seen the inside of the machine. And when Douglas wasn't around, the machine was kept tightly padlocked. In an
Padlocked is
interview
be
with TV
锁起来。
Guide in 1966, Dick Hobson said, if the laugh box should start acting strangely, the laugh boys wheel it into the men's room, locking the door behind them so no one can peek. I mentioned the name Charlie Douglas.
So this shows you how serious this is. If we don't have a laugh box, people aren't going to like our show. And 有那种的看法都是要改变人的，怎么说偏见还是刻板印象是很难，都是人觉得 laugh box 很重要，所以那你要开始拍一个就是没有 laugh box 节目，就是很危险 ，right? It's very very dangerous if you
And it's
don't
like
have
Cosa Nostra.
something that everyone thinks is
Everybody
important.
starts whispering. It's the most taboo topic in TV.
This means 黑道 mafia.
The first sitcom to use the laugh box was the short-lived series The Hank McCune Show in 1950.
Short-lived 有可能就一两
The
年就
idea
结
of
束了。
recorded laughter spread throughout Hollywood, and by the 1960s, almost every single camera sitcom was utilizing canned laughter.
Utilizing
But it
use.
was only Douglas that engineered the laughing for everyone for almost a decade. For $100, Douglas would wheel the mysterious box to each studio on a dolly and sit with the producers in a screening room and decide what kind of laughter and when. Eventually, Douglas hired a second in command to keep up with the 100 hours of television he needed to sweeten, and the rest was history. Multicam sitcoms were popularized, and shows like Friends, Frasier, Seinfeld, and more incorporated canned laughter. The actors and actresses.
So there's
had
real
no
audience
technical
right here,
laughter,
right?
Knowing that each scene would be
现
sweet.
场的观众, right?
The Discovery Channel documentary, The One That Goes Behind the Scenes, shows how it works.
Sometimes the audience responds too big. If I went with the actual laugh, So that laugh is still going through her next line into his next reaction. And it's 5-6 seconds. And in TV land, that's an eternity.
I didn't actually realize this is sometimes I didn't realize they had a live audience. 我之前没想到他们有现场的观众，我以为都是完全是假的，都是那种关头效应嘛，关头笑的那个特效嘛。I don't know what it's even called in Chinese. But yeah, so the idea is a lot of times it's real laughter, and that's why it makes you laugh, and because it's a natural reaction when you hear other people laugh, you're gonna laugh too, and also you might want to laugh, but you don't laugh out loud until you hear other people laughing. So there's that human psychology example. You don't want to be different. You don't want to laugh out loud, and then no one else responds. But that's an important thing that I didn't, that I missed out on. And but now you can actually take out a real laugh and then add in a fake one because you're trying to get your timing right. So not only if you have different takes and then the laughter is mixing all together in weird ways and it's messing with the frequency, but also sometimes natural laughs could be the wrong thing.
Sometimes we have to put in a laughter that is shorter.
It felt like comedies would be like this forever. And then The Big Bang Theory went off the air in 2019 and took with it one of the last multi-cam sitcoms with canned laughter. When we look at the television landscape today, almost every single comedy is a single camera comedy, and not a multi-cam sitcom with canned laughter. You can count on two hands how many multi-cam sitcoms that use a laugh track are on TV right now.
I'll start.
It was in 2011 when I came across a little game that a teen.
And not to mention those that went off the air this year. The use of the laugh track has almost disappeared completely from the TV lineup. So, what changed? Dead air in television used to be frowned upon, and shows would push for
Dead air,
laugh
neurons, I
tracks
shout.
whenever possible. Bill Cosby claimed his first sitcom, The Bill Cosby Show, that ran from 1961 to 1971, failed because he had insisted on not using a laugh track. Not to be confused with the very successful The Cosby Show that aired in the 1980s
Right.
and did have a laugh
Is it
track.
because of quality or is it only
And
because of the
MASH
laugh
fought
track?
to not have a laugh track at all, but they came to a compromise with the studio. They would use the canned laughter, but just not during the very serious OR scenes. While we associate the 80s and the 90s with the laugh track, that was actually the time when single camera comedies without canned laughter started to take over. A key player in this transition was HBO. Their shows Dream On in 1990 and The Larry Sanders Show in 1992 ran without laugh tracks and even garnered praise for doing so. The airing of these shows proved that comedies could exist, and exist successfully without laugh tracks. Other studios took notice and began to follow suit. Then came Curb Your Enthusiasm, Malcolm in the Middle, Scrubs, Arrested Development, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, 30 Rock, The Office, and the list goes on and on.
Great shows.
Writers and producers were excited by the
Community's
change,
really good.
as it allowed them to stray from the constant stream of punchlines to explore character-based humor.
Punchline is something like did one of your wings break? No, why? Because with that bruise, and I know that you're an angel, you must have had something happen to you. Ah, that's punchlines to try to get people to laugh, right? And now they're character-based humor. So now you're like the character is doing funny things. It's not just about saying funny words and sentences and phrases or get hit on the head. It's trying to make an interesting character that maybe is a boss or a garbage man, and then the funny things that they come across with in their life.
Another reason the laugh track fell to the wayside, according to
Wayside
Mike
is bien
Reiss, the
burro,
co-showrunner of
burro.
Netflix's One Day at a Time, I think one of the reasons why people don't like laugh tracks is they don't like to be told how to react. It's an American thing. Don't tell me what the to laugh at.
But so many American shows have actually used canned laughter, and it came from the United States. Before I learned about this stuff, I'd always felt I don't like shows with canned laughter because I think good stuff is funny without this. Don't tell me when to laugh and things like that. I felt a little bit about that, but my biggest belief was The Office is better than Big Bang Theory to me because of the character development is better. It's more touching. There's more plot development over multiple episodes, and this is just trying to get you laugh from second to second to second. But I didn't know that, you know, the history of laugh track. I assumed that it was always some shows used it, some shows didn't. But really, it was just in the past, almost everybody used the laugh track, unless it was a movie. But now you're making a decision of whether you want to use laugh track or not on TV.
The Big Bang Theory was one of the last big sitcoms that used canned laughter, and even their creator, Chuck Lorre, insisted that absolutely no sweetening took place on any of his series, which also include 2.5 Men and Mike and Molly, stating, "I do not and have never sweetened my shows with fake laughs. I've always thought it was pretty hateful and a self-defeating practice." For now, the laugh track lives in a very strange state.
So basically, you can make a decision of, do you have a laugh track? Yes. And so Big Bang Theory has a laugh track, but it's like we don't add anything if people aren't laughing. So the audience has to laugh in order to actually, you know, have the laugh be live or be on the show when you watch it as an audience. You know, so I don't know if that means that they can edit it some, but I think basically what he's meaning is if the audience, the live audience, doesn't laugh, we're not going to let the TV version have a laugh too.
It's used in very few shows, but lives on in the reruns of ever-popular series like Friends, How I Met Your Mother, and more. Perhaps history might repeat itself, and we'll see a resurgence in multicam sitcoms and the laugh track. Until then, we can thank streaming services like Netflix and Hulu for keeping Charlie Douglas's legacy in our living rooms. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel.
Okay, and you know, I think in China there's not this this history of, you know, Taiwan takes a lot of things from China and from Asia, and in the United States, if you think about it, we have Shakespeare， 这些莎士比亚都是你要演戏 ，right？ 所以其实美国那种戏剧的历史是蛮长久的 ，right？ There's this long Western, you know, history of live performances and I heard back when Shakespeare was around, let's go hear a play. It wasn't go see a play. A lot of times the audience wouldn't even really watch that much. They just like to hear the poetry of it. And where I don't think China has as much of the live audience history. And maybe that's has stuck around, and so that history of we like watching live theater came into TV, right? And then eventually TV in the home, right? So I'm not too sure about that, but that was very, very interesting. And then in the Emmys and different award shows, it's been kind of weird. A lot of times you'll have the host there, and then they're trying to, you know, add cardboard cutouts. These are all fake people, and this is the real Jimmy Kimmel, yeah. And they try to do funny things where, you know, if you lose an Emmy, it's outside. So different Hollywood actors were trying to be funny with how they did the, you know, how they accepted their award, and this is socially distanced party, and, you know, you see people at home, and maybe that's an advantage, you know, where you can go home and you can be around your family. So I think if you don't have an audience, the Western style is let's try to make it a little bit more touching, try to be around the people that you love, or share nice, thoughtful messages. Then there's one thing I'll show you a little bit about the applause sign as part of the, you know, teaching the audience when to laugh, when not to.
Great show tonight.
All done, Mr. O'Brien.
Huh. Guess I should have noticed that guy up there. I'm sorry. What are you doing up there, sir?
Oh, I'm from Best Buy Total Tech Support. I noticed your audience applause sign was at its lowest setting, so I took the liberty to upgrade it. Try it now.
Right, they see it light up and they start clapping.
That's great. That was amazing. Thank you.
Wait, our applause sign is from Best Buy?
Nope. But Best Buy Total Tech Support is able to help with all your tech, not just devices from Best Buy.
That's right. Any device.
Oh, I didn't even know it could do that.
Hey. Well, thanks for all your help. Appreciate it.
Anytime, Conan. And remember, Best Buy Total Tech Support can support any tech need.
Wow, there's a light switch on my neck?
It appears so.
This is part of the scripted
Was
aspect,
this entire
audience,
thing
right?
a
Planet
thinly
audience.
veiled ad for Best Buy?
Okay, be quiet now. Hey, hit that applause sign again.
Okay, so that's an example of you know, I don't know if everyone has an applause sign or someone who's in charge of trying to get the audience to clap and laugh and things like that. But there you go. And once again, so the Western style is you want to do it in front of a live audience. You want to make that feeling that you're there. Where I think in Taiwanese shows, you don't have a live audience from what I know. And so they do things like add the funny sounds, try to add in music and subtitles, all to make the show more exciting. Because I can tell you when I was on Dr. Shengmei and Erfenji, it's not that exciting when you're there in person. I mean, there's some laughing and things like that, but they make it much more exciting by what they do in the editing after the show is done. Thank you so much. We are done here. There's one more thing that I think I may have missed out on. Remember, once again, there's cultural differences. Fewer guests on Western shows. There's the scripted acting bits. There's some games. I mean, there's games in Taiwan. I don't really know of any like where you know you're supposed to have characters in the audience and they you know like Chewbacca and people dressing up in funny costumes. That's more Taiwan, more Western style where we plant audience members to do something funny. And then, but there's no subtitles in the West where there's subtitles in Taiwan, so you don't have to write subtitles for your interview. And then the idea of live audiences. So hopefully you know more about Taiwanese talk shows compared to Western talk shows, and watching Western talk shows improve your English. Thanks.